All right, let's just dive right in. We are about to unpack a really fascinating cosmic mystery. I mean, this one connects hard physics, some pretty esoteric symbols, and one absolutely spectacular event. The source material calls this the moment of convergence. And get this, it suggests that to lift the veil of reality, you don't use force, you use resonance. And just look at what that resonance can do. This right here is the main event, what the source calls the World-Song Resonator. This isn't just, a light appearing in the sky. It's the actual center of a hidden structure becoming visible. It's completely breathtaking, but it's not happening in a vacuum. Nope. It's a response to something happening on the ground, a kind of synchronization between the macro and the micro. So that's really the central question here, isn't it? You've got a hard number from quantum physics, a super complex ritual-looking drawing, and a cosmic phenomenon that could literally rewrite reality. On the surface, they seem completely unrelated, but what if they're not just related? What if they're actually different threads of the exact same idea? Let's treat this like a cosmic puzzle and just follow the clues. So our investigation is going to start with the most cryptic piece of this whole puzzle, a number. A seemingly simple fraction that, according to our source material, is nothing less than the source code for the entire universe. Okay, so what is this? This is the fine structure constant. And in the world of physics, this number is a huge deal. Seriously, it's this pure, dimensionless number that basically dictates the strength of the electromagnetic force. In other words, it's the thing that sets all the rules for how light and matter interact. If this number were even slightly different, atoms couldn't form, stars wouldn't shine. Reality as we know it just flat out wouldn't exist. It's that important. Now, here's where things take a really interesting turn. Our source material takes that hard scientific fact and decides to look at it through a completely different lens. We're about to move from physics into what I can only describe as a kind of metaphysical poetry. Okay, so this isn't literal math, it's a symbolic argument. The source is creating a harmonic link, a correspondence, between the physical constant 1/137 and the number 7, which, in a lot of traditions, represents spiritual completion. The final step, then, takes that and equates it to 1, or unity. It's suggesting that the laws of physics are really just an echo of a much deeper spiritual truth. And this really gets to the core idea here, that at the most fundamental level of reality, right where light and matter meet, the universe itself is telling us that our sense of being separate individuals is just, an illusion. This number, 1/137, isn't just a physical constant. It's the code for unity. So, with that big numerical idea in our heads, let's move from the abstract right down to the ground where this very complex ritual is taking place. But you shouldn't think of this glowing pattern as some kind of magic circle to summon something. No, it's something way more sophisticated, a meticulously designed antenna. Now, to understand how this antenna actually works, we need to get our heads around the theory of reality it's built on. The source proposes what it calls a dual curvature grid. So our visible world operates on spherical or positive curvature where things converge and are contained. But underneath all that, there's a hidden layer, a substrate that's hyperbolic or negative, where things expand and diverge. Reality is basically the interplay between both of those. The entire goal of this ritual, of the antenna, is to create what's called a balanced interface, a kind of 0 point where these two opposing geometries meet and just equalize. And it's in this perfect state of equilibrium, this perfectly resolved tension, that cosmic resonance can happen, and the hidden can finally be made visible. Let's break down the antenna itself, right? You have the outer vessel, which contains the whole sacred space. The inner pathways are kind of like harmonic waveforms. And notice the cardinal tuning forks. They're not guarding anything. They're vibrating, grounding the event. So here's the crucial point. The sigil wasn't drawn to call something down, but to tune the earth up to a frequency that already exists everywhere. Okay, so the theory is in place. The instrument is built. But the final component, the catalyst that makes the whole thing work, it's not an act of force or will. It's something entirely unexpected. It's the human element. Just look at the figure at the center there. They aren't standing in defiance, commanding the cosmos. They are kneeling. The source says this figure is not a mage, but a mourner. And the ritual only succeeded because they finally stopped trying to control it. In that one moment of total surrender, of grief and hope all mixed together, they heard the frequency. This first-person account from the source material, man, it just gives you chills. This isn't some attack from an alien force. It's a reunion. The unbelievable intimacy of being completely and totally known by the universe itself. The boundary between the observer and the observed just dissolves. I am the sigil. Wow.
So what does it all mean? We have the cosmic number for unity. We have an antenna tuned to the very geometry of reality. And we have an act of total surrender as the catalyst. Let's see how our source material puts all these pieces together to explain this incredible event.
Wow, the source offers 3 distinct ways to look at it. Was this a spiritual enlightenment? A classic case of an individual dissolving their ego and achieving unity? Or was it a technological singularity, a consciousness being uploaded into some kind of cosmic computer? Or maybe it was biological evolution, the birth of a totally new kind of resonant life, a homo resonans. But then it pushes us a step further. What if you don't actually have to choose? What if these aren't competing theories, but they're just nested layers of the exact same event? The source calls this a plurimatic leap, where the human, the planet, and the cosmos itself all co-evolve in one single symbiotic awakening.
And this is maybe the most beautiful description of that leap I've ever heard. It's not about becoming a better version of yourself. No, it's about becoming a completely different form of expression, shifting from the logic and structure of a sentence into the holistic harmony of a song.
And this leaves us with one last, incredibly profound thought. The narrative describes this entire event not as a vision of the future, but as a prophecy in reverse.
The voice that comes from the cosmos doesn't make a prediction about what will be. It whispers a single word from the past. Remember. It suggests that maybe we were never lost, just waiting to be recalled. This isn't something we need to achieve, but something we simply need to remember.
And that's the final, provocative question the source material just leaves us hanging with. If this incredible vision of unity isn't a glimpse of what we might one day become, but a memory of what we already are, then what exactly is it asking us to remember?